Oh, we need to talk about this. The good, the bad, and the ugly about eating the beef, butter, and bacon diet. Welcome everyone to my very humble life where I'm trying to build a house, build a barn, and build a little small mother-in-law's quarter for my mother so I can get her out of nursing because that's no place for anyone to live. But let's get into it. Beef, butter, and bacon. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Butter. Okay, butter. Butter's good. Butter has CLAs and ALAs and omega-3s and vitamin D and vitamin A, rich sources of DNA. E, A, K. It's an amazing fat. It's loaded in cholesterol that we need for our immune system and our skin and our brain health, reproductive health. Butter is beyond measure the best fat. And I'm going to do a video about that, how butter is the best fat on these low carb, high fat diets, lifestyles rather. Beef, butter, and bacon. Beef. Yeah. Beef is good. Beef is really good. Ground beef is easy to digest. It's cheaper as a grass-fed beef. Unfortunately, the ground beef often is like 80 different cows. But that's okay. If you can find it grass-fed at your local market, that would be amazing. High in fat. And like I said, one of the best things about ground beef is that it's much easier to digest because it's already been minced and grounded down than eating a steak. And it's affordable. Bacon. Well, pork belly is high in omega. Depends. If you get that corn-fed pig, it's going to be higher in omega-6. If you get that pastured pig, you're going to get some omega-3s in there. Pork has parasites, but so does beef. What else? So we shouldn't be eating pork raw. I actually don't eat raw meat anymore because I've learned too much about parasites, but that's okay. Bacon. Loaded in nitrates, typically when you get it at Costco and Sam's Club and Kroger's. Not good. There's Peterson's bacon and paleo bacon. U.S. Wellness Meats has a bacon that I believe is pastured. There's a few farms that have pastured pork. But once you cure that bacon and salt, often it's cured in sugar, it's aged, a lot of bacteria is growing on it. So I'm not a fan of people doing beef, butter, and bacon unless the bacon is pastured. Now, and the butter is grass-fed. And the mincemeat, the beef is organic. Well, no, grass-fed is better. But some people can't afford grass-fed. That was the good. What's the bad and the ugly? Because kind of the same thing. The bad is that a lot of you guys who are doing this beef, butter, and bacon diet, most of you have a gallbladder problem. And now we're doing very, very high fat, fatty meats, which is what you want to keto adapt. But if you are forcing down the butter, I think it is Dr. Boz who says to eat a tablespoon of butter before bed. But butter is very high histamine, incredibly high histamine, because there's a little bit of the whey and casein proteins from the cow in that butter, and people are reacting to that. And then they try ghee, and often they do better. or sometimes they continue to react even to the smallest amounts of whey and casein. And if that's you, you would have to fix and seal up that gut wall before doing butter. Because if you continue to eat foods very, very high, or eat a lot or large amounts of high histamine foods, when your gut's leaking, it just gets worse. So you got to pull back, not cut out, but pull back to a very tiny amount and then slowly titrate up. If you have a gallbladder problem, here's another problem with the ugly. Gallbladder problem means you don't break down fat very well. And people are telling you to eat beef, butter, and bacon. And then you guys do it. You have to find meats that you know that you can digest and you don't have a histamine reaction to that food. If you have a gallbladder problem, don't shove down, because you could have an infected or blocked biliary duct system, and now you're pounding down the fat, feeling awful. Titration. Titrate up, titrate down, and do a lot of experimentation to see if you can handle the beef, butter, and bacon combo. Now, I'm not a fan of eating beef, butter, and bacon. I'm a fan of pork belly cut into bacon, pastured. I'm a fan of different cuts of meat, ground beef, ribeyes, chuck for meat stock broth. Yeah, I'm a fan of lamb. I'm a fan of some fish, fatty fish. I'm not a fan of the sardine diet. That's just dumb. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm a fan of rotating your meats. I'm a fan of deer meat, liver, heart, whatever, thymus, pancreas. I'm a fan of organ meats. And when you're doing the beef, butter, and bacon, most people are doing like ground beef, they're doing butter, and then they're doing bacon. And they're going to their local supermarket. And these foods could be high histamine, or you could have a gallbladder problem. Or you're doing beef, butter, and bacon, incredibly large amounts, and you can't get into ketosis. Your blood sugar's just like skyrocketing. So my people, don't just eat beef, butter, and bacon. Add an avocado. Not just for the monounsaturated fat, but for the potassium. Or if you do Iberico pork, pastured pork for the potassium. Pork is very high in potassium. Pastured pigs that are well cared for. But I hate to tell you, all animals get parasites, including us. Dogs get parasites. Horses get parasites. I mean, I have to deworm my horses depending on the season every 3 to 6 months. Loaded in parasites. And the dogs are loaded in parasites. So don't be so afraid of pork, especially if it's pastured. Think about people in the centurions who live in Okinawa. Pork is their primary source of meat. And they live to over 100. It's not necessarily the animal, it's more how the animal has been taken care of or how it's been processed. Don't just eat beef, butter, and bacon. Add some asparagus. Add some prebiotic fiber. You can do spring onions, the green part, or leek, high in prebiotic fiber. A lot of you guys are dealing with leaky gut. You have a dysbiotic gut. You have messed up bacteria. And you're doing beef, butter, and bacon. You may not be getting enough of your electrolytes from beef, butter, and bacon. But the good side is beef is good, butter is good, and pork belly, fresh, bacon, it's all good. Just make sure that you're not dehydrated, that you've got your histamine under control. You can digest these foods, and you don't have high uric acid levels. Don't overeat the protein. Add the fat. So you could do pork fat. You can do lamb fat. You can do tallow. It just does not strictly have to be ground beef, a slab of butter, and some bacon from Costco. Don't do that. There's a way to take that diet and make it more healthy by getting grass-fed, pastured, knowing where your meat is coming from, and diversify your meats. Like I said, there's lamb, there's chicken, on occasion, chicken hearts, gizzards, liver, beef liver, lamb liver, pork liver. There is the thymus and pancreas, and kidneys are great for diamine oxidase, for histamine intolerance. Just don't do the beef, butter, and bacon. Yeah. Comment below if you got into that scam. If you fell into that whole beef, butter, and bacon, you're like, I feel so terrible. They're telling me to eat a tablespoon or two of butter before I go to bed and I'm bloated, or I've got diarrhea, or my stool is turning yellow, or I'm so histamine and bloated on the beef, butter, and bacon, I have no energy because I'm not adapting. Is that you? Comment below. If you guys want to learn more, go to stephanieperson.com, book a consultation where I can get you on the right path as an individual and not following these dumb trends like fasting or overeating protein or priming or eating beef and butter and bacon only, because you guys have to rotate for the bacterial benefits and to keep the gallbladder from over freaking out, and for the nutrition. You can find me on Instagram at Stephanie Ketogenic. My Facebook fan page is Stephanie the Business Person. I offer a course where I cover all 3 diets, where I teach you how to float between the 3 if you need to. What are the best vegetables? How much? The timing if you're doing an omnivorous diet of high fat, no starch. If you're doing a low carb, high fat diet because you have a gallbladder problem or hypoglycemia, what carbs can you eat? What timing of the carbs? Yeah, the amount. And of course, carnivore for those who are having like RA or fibromyalgia, extreme inflammation from eating plants because their gut's so jacked up. How long should you do it? What types of meat? And what if you have high uric acid levels trying to do carnivore? Or what about high uric acid, high iron, high ferritin, and a gallbladder issue? How to do a carnivore or ketogenic diet successfully if you have those issues. And I'm out.